So Pedal Across Wisconsin was in September, and so the weather was much nicer. Actually, there were some mornings that it was cool. I never wore long pants, but I did start the day out with a jacket a few times. I was with Don, Amy, and Chris, and if you ever get a chance to ride with people, those are two fun people to ride with. They weren't able to join me for the presentation, but Chris put together the PowerPoints for this presentation. I did the other ones, and you can see the difference in our PowerPoint skills. So this was actually taken on a ferry going from over to Washington Island, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. This is the sheet that recorded our club mileage, and I drove up there with my wife, and the first day we got there, we went past a football field, and hundreds of cars were parked in this football field, and we asked around, and finally we found out there was a Century ride that day, the arrival day for the Pedal Across Wisconsin, unrelated to Pedal Across Wisconsin. But we were jokingly saying, oh, we could have rode a Century before we started doing this ride. So I parked my car, I walked over to the tent where you pick up your registration packet and your shirt and things like that. And here I am, 300 miles from home in Door County, and I walk up and I want to give the lady my name, and she says, "You're Pete, you ride a Clydesdale." And I'm thinking, well, my riding reputation has made it all the way up to Green Bay here, to Door County and everything like that. And it turns out it was a woman from the Wheeling Wheel Persons. Who's that? I don't know if she's a petite woman. And the reason she knew me was because at the start of the bakery rides on Tuesday and Thursday morning, she had seen me rolling around in the parking lot. And the reason I didn't know her is because I never saw her on bakery rides after the first.
Must be Emily.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Sure, she's always gone, and I don't know how she does that. But I've never kept up with her. This is a week-long ride. Sunday is the optional, and it's very well supported. It's run by some guys who actually, a father and now a son, who live in Evanston. So they've just got this franchise up in Wisconsin, and they do some rides down in Florida in the winter. But it's very well organized. Also, ride at your own pace. I thought this would be a much more scenic tour, and it was. But it's a matter of expectations. I thought it was all going to be Door County, Sister Bay, all this stuff. And it was that, but you don't ride along the lake the whole time. And at times I think, like, this is like a bakery ride. I could be in Barrington right now, but there are some spectacular venues that you'll see. Let's see. So this was on our warm-up day. We only did about 15 miles. This was the optional day. Don is pointing to where we are in Door County, and I was pointing to where the trail for this famous ride actually started somehow. There was the Ice Age Trail of some kind, and you'd have to Google that and find out more about that. We stopped, and Don he's big about taking pictures of signs, so you can see that I could reach the sign. Chris had a little bit more difficulty reaching up to the sign there at the bottom. So we went from Sturgeon Bay to Egg Harbor. That was 49 miles. A little bit cool, but it was refreshing.
Look at it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes?
We had a really fun lunch sitting outside. There was a jazz guitarist playing all the oldies, and it was really a fun day. It wasn't as exhausting as I had done the first day of my other ride. Pedaling along there. There was a little bit of rain, but the first day, that optional day, we had sprinkles of rain and it wasn't fun for 20 minutes, but the rest of the week, we really didn't have any rain. And you can see some of the really interesting venues. I don't know who did some nice welding of bicycles there, and Don and I are hamming it up in front of those bicycle things there. So this was like in the other ride, the St. Louis Arch Day was the big day. The big day was going up to, I don't know what city it is, but you get on the ferry that runs regularly and goes over to Washington Island. You can see there's cars and trucks that are doing commerce on going across to this island, to Washington Island. Show of hands, who's been on Washington Island? A couple people. But this was really one of the reasons you do a week-long thing with a nice adventure like that. We all started out and they told you got to be at the boat and the time where you had to be there to get onto the boat. So that was pretty well organized and we had paced it out to get there. Just being on a boat like that, to me, in the middle of a bike ride, first it was a nice rest. But you're on you're on this boat with at least 100 other riders, and you're out on the water, and it was gorgeous, and that was worth the trip right there. So this is a picture, one of my favorite pictures. I was doing the math, and I don't know, if there's 100 bikes on that ferry right there, and they're nice road bikes. I mean, there were some really nice road bikes, and if you think each one is about average, $2,500 maybe, because there were some really nice bikes. You're looking at $250,000 of bicycles on this ferry, and the guy was ready for us. He parked the bikes for us so you could stack them alternately facing different directions so the handlebars weren't all bunched up. And imagine what it was like when we had to get our bikes off this thing and reclaim your bicycle. Fortunately, there aren't too many bikes like mine that people would take the wrong one. So, then we all scattered onto Washington Island. And I was riding again with Don and Chris, and it was just beautiful scenery, and they had been there actually in the first year of their marriage, and this was a while ago, and they were looking for this lookout on Washington Island that they had been to, and we were looking all over the place. We saw it on the map, we finally found it, and it was closed, and because it was structurally unsafe, so they were not able to go up there. So, and the other thing that happened was Don needed to use the porta potty that was there, so he goes in there, and Chris and I are standing around talking. We look over at the porta potty, and it's flashing, like there's a light flashing. And I was thinking, how nice of the people in Wisconsin in their porta potties, when it's occupied, there's a light on that's flashing. And so then the door opens and Don walks out, and it was the light on the top of his helmet that was flashing inside the porta potty. And I tell you, if I had a video of that, it would have been incredible. This was on Thursday. Cana Island. There's a lighthouse on Cana Island. I don't know how many of you have been there. This is more on the east side near Bailey's Harbor, and we were hoping to see this lighthouse. And I remembered being there with my wife and our daughters. The younger one was in diapers, and I carried her. The water there was not covering like it is in this picture. Now, this is 30 years ago. I'm not sure what climate change or whatever, but we thought we were going to be able to at least walk our bikes over and go out and see this lighthouse, but you really couldn't do that. And you can see the waves are coming together like this, so the waves are coming both directions because it's actually an island where the lighthouse is. And it didn't stop these two people who are local residents, because they just picked up their dog. They had flip-flops on. They pulled their pants up to their knees, and they actually walked across the island and got to the other side safely. But it'd been crazy to try to do that with a bicycle. So you're just driving along, and this is an actual street sign. The name of the road is Any Old Road. And this was, I think, our last day going back to Sturgeon Bay, where we started. And we were fascinated by the sign. That is the actual street sign for Any Old Road. And this is Any Old Road. And I was thinking, well, when you address your Christmas card to people that live there, like Bob and Betty Smith, 1234 Any Old Road, it's just a weird address to be writing on an envelope. Another one of the highlights of the trip was in Peninsula State Park, there's a lookout. Anybody been on that lookout? It has been redone, and this is the redoneness of it. There's actually 4 amazing structures in this slide. There's the anchor, there's the 60-foot tower, and there's Don and me. Posing, making the scenery look good. It was really kind of neat up there, a little bit windy, but an amazing view. And what they had done was they tore down the old tower, which was just a tower you go up and you go straight down. They actually, I don't know if the purpose was to make it handicapped accessible or not, but there is a walkway that goes out about 40, 50 yards and makes a hairpin turn and then comes back up to the top of this thing. So you can push a wheelchair up this to get up there. You can go up the stairs that are in the middle there, but you can also go up. So there's this, and it's an engineering feat that was just amazing to me. The wood seemed like it was fresh, and you could almost smell the wood. I think it cost millions of dollars, but if you're ever up in Door County and you get to Peninsula State Park, you need to go and just go up this ramp up to this tower. And this is actually approaching the top. So it started down, it's the top of the tower is on the right here, and this is going downhill left and then back down to the ground level. So it's really an amazing structure. And there's the top of it, and I think I'm standing kind of down near the bottom where it started. My wife holding on for dear life at the top of the tower. That's as close as she would get to the edge for the picture. And this was the end of it. They had us park cars over in a lot away from the hotel, so they were there for a week, and so the ride actually ended kind of across the street from the hotel where it started, because that's where all the cars were, and it was 257 miles. So I said the weather was, in September was, I never really was affected by the weather that much. When you got going and you started generating some of your own heat, it was really good. The ride with GPS works well. Don and I had the same thing on our Garmin's, and then Chris is like her own GPS. She usually uses the paper cue sheet, so she corrected us several times. Again, we were split in a couple of different hotels, and they were farther away. We had to use my wife's car to drive Don, Chris, and the two of us over to the hotel where the evening reception was, and to drive back. So you kind of got split up a little bit. And they were smaller hotels. Again, the breakfasts were mass quantities. The lunches were usually in the restaurants, Sister Bay, Bailey's Harbor. I forget what the other cities are up there, but they were very well available The dinners, I think mostly were once again prepackaged type things that you just, there was one evening where we went out to a country club and had dinners around a table, like a banquet, and it was a really good meal. So I'm not sure, I don't have too much information about Pedal Across Wisconsin for 2022. Dave, could you turn the light back on? Because I think I'm just about done here.
Who sponsored this? Is this Jerry Goldman, right?
Yes,
Yep.
that's the guy, and his son,
Dr. Jay Peddle, yeah. Son runs it now.
Doctor, yeah. You know, they got it greased, and a lot of the people have been riding this for years, and
Nice ride.
they do a lot of other rides up in the Door County area, public Wisconsin rides and things like that. So he seems to be very well known. I was a little amazed. I think I was one of the younger riders, I think. And so some of these people, they can kill it on a bicycle, and they get off the bicycle and they can barely walk to get up to their hotel rooms. But when they're on a bicycle, man, they are strong riders. The one guy was the problem because he had his recumbent, and the recumbent didn't fit in the doors of the hotels. So they had to park his bicycle on the truck that they used overnight to transport people's luggage and things like that. So I think that is it. I don't have a big finish. That was it. I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions about doing the bike rides, because, you know, now we've got some experienced people, and there's other people here that can share their experiences. So,
What did it cost?
but the same. It was comparable to what the other one was. Yeah, they have different levels and things like that.
Camping, right? No hotel?
This was all hotel. I don't think they do camping for up there. So I don't know. Does it make you want to go and do a week-long ride sometime?
That Century before, that's sponsored by the Green Bay Bicycle Club. They used to sponsor a Century.
I'm not sure who it was. Yeah, I'm not sure who sponsored it, so. Okay, well, just in closing, we've maxed out our time here. I've got Road Bike Action. Anybody subscribe to this? It's a fun read. There's a lot of equipment in there that's advertising that I'll never touch in my lifetime, but there's a lot of really interesting articles, so I'm just regifting this if anybody wants to read that. This winter I read a book, Old Man on a Bicycle, and I don't know if anybody's ever read this one, but the guy's a nut. He rode from the East Coast to the West Coast. He did it, that means people go west to east. He did it east to west because he wanted to relive something. He was not an accomplished cyclist when he started doing this. He was just kind of making it up as he went along, and he paid the price for it. And he didn't have a plan of where he was going to stay. He did a lot of camping. So if you'd like to read this guy, I mean, when as I was reading it, was a great read, but I was like, this guy's a nut. He actually fell and I think broke his collarbone or his elbow or something like that. And he actually finished the ride. He went back to the spot where he had the accident and then finished the ride to the coast again. But if you're ever thinking about doing something like that, this was a fun read. And this one is an excellent read. It's called Road to Valor. And this guy won the 1938 Tour de France. And he talks about the bicycles a little bit. And the bicycle that they had no gears. And when they approached a mountain, they would get off their bike, take off the back wheel, and turn it around because it had a different gear on the other side. And then they would put the wheel back on, and then they would do the climb that way instead of us just pressing the little button and changing gears. So you probably recall that there was a little bit of a problem after 1938 in Italy. He was Italian. And so there was no tour, and he actually was approached by the resistance in Italy to help them transport forged documents to get Jews safety or out of the country. And what he did was he took the seat off his bicycle and he rolled these up and he put them in the seat tube and then put the seat tube back in, and he delivered, and his life was in peril if he had been caught doing that. And it's amazing the people that he saved by doing that and the whole story. So then things got better. They started thinking like, well, should we do a tour again? And 10 years later, after he won the 1938, he won the 1948 Tour de France. And just an amazing read. So if anybody wants to read this, I have these two I would like to have back so I can share them with other people. But if anybody wants to take these home today, you can take them home. And you want to give a commercial for our next meeting, or?
Oh, yes, for our next meeting, March 23rd, our very own Greg Konechny is going to give a presentation about bike maintenance. So, we all need to know more about that, right? Yeah.
About what?
Yeah. Greg Konechny, March 23rd. Bike maintenance, right here, right here. Oh, we have lots of free stuff over here on the table. So
Question?
take a look before you go home.
Going to be talking about maintenance or actually a demonstration?
I think he's going to demonstrate. I'm guessing that he's going to actually demonstrate some stuff. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, right. Contact Greg if you want to be the demo bike. Yeah.
20 might show up.
So again, if you want to share in the brownies back there, thanks for coming, and we'll see you. I think I'm calculating about six more weeks until the Tuesday night rides start in April.
Yeah.
We're going to the library.